seeing what we can get away with, having fun with it, making sure the work is up to snuff, and being excited about it, and not just trying to play by whatever's hot at the moment.
What's going on? You're listening to episode 47 of the Perspective Podcast, and I'm your host, Scotty.D.Russell of Perspective Collective. This show is all about encouraging you to carve out time to build something for yourself. This is for the people who want to pursue their creativity, but maybe they struggle starting or sticking with it. So this is for you. I have an amazing show lined up today, but first I want to let you know about a new type foundry online called Continental Type Co. It was created by my good friends Winston Scully and Scott Biersek. You maybe heard of them. If not, I have them linked up in the show notes. But they recently joined forces to share their love for high-quality type design by releasing their first typefaces, Gatefold and High Ground. And these dudes learn from the best at Cooper Type, and I know how much time and energy they've invested to get these ready to roll to make your project stand out. You can check them out over at continentaltype.co. All right, so today on the show, I'm stoked to bring you the Forefathers group. And the Forefathers are a global conglomerate design studio, but to me, that's just a fancy way of saying that it's three remote working design killers who create amazing websites, branding, illustrations, content, products, etc. And they respectively dominate out of Oklahoma, New Jersey, and Sweden. I originally met these dudes at Creative South 2016, and I built on that relationship at Creative South this past year, as well as Crop 2017. These cats are polarizing, and they have a special ability to stand out not only in person, but in their work as well. And today, we're going to go deep and talk about using a day job as a springboard to get to where you want, the pros and challenges that come with working remote, where they source their inspiration, taking a stand against internet bullies, buying bunk Ouija boards, handling comparison like P. Diddy, all over the place. And you could find their work over at forefathersgroup.com, and you can find the show notes for this episode packed full of all their work as well at perspective-collective.com/47. And if you find this show could be helpful to other people, please just give it a share on social media. It's real simple, and it's because of people like you that this show is reaching the people who need it most. Oh yeah, real quick, listen to the end to get details on how you can win a free Photoshop action set from the Forefathers, and I'll give you those details in the outro. Let's get into the show. All right, what's going on? We got Matthew, Amir, and Jondon of the Forefathers group on today. How are you guys doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
All right, for those who don't know, we all met, Creative South 2016? And I think, I think it just all happened through lots of partying and late night drinking. And then we actually got to really kick it this last year at Crop. So shout out to Matt Dawson. I always want to plug him. But yeah, stoked to have you guys on. We've been trying to set something up for a little bit, so this is perfect timing.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels good to be here. Oh, quick question. Weren't you at Creative South this year?
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, you were there, right?
we were hanging out in the hallway or the lobby at like 2 a.m. listening to the Opie.
Yes.
Or
yes.
Yeah, that was good times. Well,
we're mostly like the Crop hangs because that's where we hung out a lot.
Yeah. Crop was a lot of fun this year. I'll definitely be back, so hopefully you guys can make it to one of the two. So just to skip kind of the whole backstory of things. What led you guys, I just want to jump right in. What led you guys to forming Forefathers in the first place? Because you guys are all remote and just killing the game right now, in my eyes.
Yeah, really appreciate the kind words, obviously. I think for each of us, it was different. Mine was from just kind of, I worked at a really, really bad agency as my first design job when I was younger. I can't suggest that enough for somebody. If you're getting started in design, go work at a terrible agency for about 2 or 3 years, just to do it, just to see how things shouldn't be done, just to see how things should not be operated, and to try to do better within a system that's kind of terribly built. I really suggest that, and I'm not kidding. But I really had a distaste for a job that I had. I had it for about 4 years, and I was learning a lot. Now, granted, I was self-teaching myself quite a bit, but I was learning a lot, and eventually I just kind of had that freelancer itch where I was becoming confident enough and kind of ballsy enough to get ready to make the jump out of that type of environment that I was in. And luckily, I got fired about my 4th year in. And then I went freelance, and I was doing well with freelance, but there was something still missing. I wasn't doing as much as I wanted to do, and the things that I wanted to do were more full spectrum, to where it wasn't just web work. And I knew eventually I was going to have to link up with someone. So that's kind of how I ended up going towards Forefathers and linking up with Matt, was just really out of, I needed something more than what I was getting from the design industry.
Instead of just rolling solo.
Yeah, it just wasn't working. It wasn't working for me.
So then, Matt, that kind of leads, because you two were kind of the first part, the pioneers of the Forefathers, I guess I would say. What was kind of your journey? What were you doing before that led you to partnering up with Jondon?
I worked in the music industry for 10 years doing creative direction, and I was the in-house designer for a couple of different labels. And I was doing freelance stuff on the side, but it was always roped into music. And when I met Jondon, the first couple of gigs that we worked together were in the music industry. But then at that time, 2010, 11 is when the industry started taking a nosedive. And my role in the company, though important, it was kind of one of the quickest to be on the chopping block. And so instead of getting fired, I felt like it would be better if I just, stepped away and started doing the freelance thing full time. And I had a freelance thing on the side, or currently the company I was working at, I had another company that, I formed and was doing some pretty cool stuff, but I was still very much in the music industry. And then when I met Jondon and we discussed going into Forefathers, it was like that way of getting out of the music industry and doing something a little bit more unique and with different clientele. And I felt and I always say, instead of me going to work for him or him going to work for me, we started Forefathers. And I think that was my way of going in a different direction with the company or with whatever I was doing to land new gigs and clients that were far removed from the music industry. Though I still love the music industry and we still do a decent amount of work with them. All the partners we have in that space now are awesome. It's really nice to work outside of that, just because of the creativity that we get to do in other arenas is pretty rad.
For sure. So just so people know, Jondon is the web designer. Matt over here is the developer as well as the wise tax man, right?
Yeah.
And then we bring in the crazy illustration skills of Amir. So like, Amir, how did you kind of fall into the loop, and what were you doing beforehand before you linked up with these guys?
I was freelancing at the time. They found me through Dribbble.
Were you always freelancing?
Yeah.
Did you ever hold down like a shitty day job as well?
For many years, yeah. I was working.
So you got fired for doing drugs on the job.
Pretty much. No, I was working at a warehouse. I used to work for Coca-Cola actually, and I used to work for a logistics company as well. While I was doing like design on the side, but it was hard to find the time to do it. I started my first design agency back in 2000 2000, I think.
Damn.
2001. I started working for myself back in 97, so go way back. But yeah, these guys found me through Dribble, and they needed some help because they're the guy who was full-time with Forefathers before, Dan Greta, one of the greatest. He had a bit too much on his plate. So I helped him out with a couple of projects, and Dan quit. And I got on, did a couple of projects with them. And then Dan came back, so I stepped out again. Then he left again, and I stepped in. And after a while, I started working full-time with them.
Awesome. Well, I know, John, one of the things you just let off right away that I think people appreciate is just some of the struggles you maybe faced was working at like a shitty day job to realize, you know, what's broken about things and, you know, how you guys can turn to make it right. So what are some other things that you guys faced along the way? Because you guys seem like a pretty tight-knit group, especially when I see you all together. You know, what are some of the things you guys faced along the way, or working remote, and Amir over in Sweden too? So, you know, if you could speak to that, because there's a lot of people wishing they were in a remote team, but don't probably know all the effort and obstacles that go with it.
The hardest thing that's always been and always will be is money. Whether that be involved in taxes, whether that be involved in budgets, just all across the board. That's always the biggest hurdle. The work typically is usually the easiest thing to do within a remote company, at least that we've found. And I think it's because we're all so on the same page. That's always just been, we've never had to fight for that. We'll fight about the minutia of quality of what we're doing, or we'll fight about, you know, when somebody's digging their heels into the sand of fighting for designs that they want when another team member is suggesting something else. I mean, we've all done it. But the biggest struggle is always money, at least for us. And we've gotten to a point now where it used to weigh on us a lot harder than it probably should have. But over time, even you become callous to that, and you start to feel the ebb and flow, and you try not to fight it so really, really hard. I used to fight it really heavily. I used to freak out. I used to panic mode about shit that was not healthy to panic about. And I think we all kind of made a motto to ourselves: just show up until there's nothing left to do. And that's worked well so far. But yeah, that's been the biggest hurdle.
And the only reason why we've existed this long and remotely is just that we started off this very transparent with each other, and the communication is, you know, outside of anything else we do work-wise. I mean, the communication is king. You know, we because I can't share an office with John, and I have to be able to, you know, voice any concerns I have or frustrations I have, you know, to him, and not feel like he's going to get, you know, butthurt about it. Because it's just, you know, it's never, because he can't read my expression through Slack or whatever. So I have to voice whatever concerns I have with him and just be honest and open. And somehow we just managed to do that pretty easily. And you know, if I sense that there's something wrong, I always have to bring it up, just because it's better to clear the air, and it just makes things go a lot smoother. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
Amir, what about you? Do you ever like struggle with the time zone things in the beginning? At least I'm sure you guys probably have it down, you know, pretty perfected at the moment, but.
No, it never really bothered me because I don't have any kids, so I sleep late and I work late. So I'm pretty much in your time zone anyway, so it's never been a problem.
True that.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm a bit more adult now than I used to be when it comes to sleeping hours and stuff. So, and I try to get home to my girlfriend and do dinner regular times as often as I can.
Even on conference calls, right, Amir?
Mm-hmm. Even doing conference calls.
So, like, are you about to like start eating dinner here in like the next 10 minutes? It's like 5 p.m.
No. Today she knows I'm on the podcast, and she has her own meeting.
We had a conference call yesterday, and Amir was making dinner while on the call, and it was so loud.
With the client or just with you guys?
With the client, yeah. He didn't realize how loud it was, and he was just smashing pots and pans. And Jonathan and I were trying to like get his attention through text and Facebook, like, dude, put yourself on mute. It's so bad over there.
I thought it was quiet as a church mouse, and I had my pocket.
It was just all these pots and pans just banging around.
I was making sauce and everything.
That's why you gotta get pizza, because it doesn't make sound.
Exactly. No, trust me. I had more than enough pizza. That's why I'm trying to cook now instead of make unhealthy pasta at home. Yeah.
Quick question then. So do you guys all operate out of Slack all day, or how does like email work, or who handles email respondents or like client briefs, or how's that work?
We communicate through Slack all the time, and the three of us, or Facebook Messenger if Amir is out. I mean, that's easier than text messages because, you know, he's a foreigner. So, but yeah, and then as far as email inquiries to the business, either I'll just take the lead. Just it's easier if one person does it, just because so it doesn't get convoluted, and then we can just share it with each other. But yeah. I mean, that's one thing that's kind of weird, like with client work now. It used to be more when we first started out, like people that were coming to work with us, as soon as we told them that we were a remote team, they would get very uneasy and standoffish, like, oh, well, you guys don't share an office together. That, you know, what kind of, you know, are you just, you know, are you serious? Are you in your underwear right now? Like, it wasn't. It was kind of a more of an issue than it is now. I think over the years that we've been together, I think the tides have changed universally. That where people that don't work together, it's becoming way more commonplace. So clients are less resistant when you say, you know, oh, my illustrator, yeah, he's in Sweden. Like, you know, at first people are like, well, how is that going to work? He's in Sweden. How are we going to meet? And like nowadays, clients don't even want to meet. You know, they don't even want to get on a phone call. Like when we first started, Jonathan and I hated getting on phone calls. Like we avoided it with like a plague. And now I immediately want to get on a phone call, and I usually get hesitation from the clients, which is, it's such a role reversal. And I think that's just the way the world is changing technology wise. It's becoming, everything is becoming remote and computer or like email based or chat based.
Well, I definitely don't see the problem of you guys working remote with the work that you're kicking out. It speaks for itself, especially with this. I mean, we got to plug it right now. This beautiful revamped website of yours that just dropped within, the end of July, was it?
Yes.
Yeah. I've been trying to plug it to as many people as possible because it blows my mind, and I've been studying it, going and inspecting things behind in the weeds and trying to figure out how the hell you guys did some of this. But yeah, the combination of like your custom type, responsive imagery, the illustrations, the content. Honestly, I think you guys have some of the best case studies I've ever seen. I kind of want to know a little bit more about the process of going into it, how long it's taken, and can we also touch on the puppets?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man.
Dude, the puppets, that shit is hilarious. But it brings such personality. That's the first thing you see is a nice little background video.
Well, we let's see, that came about, we were talking, obviously we had, I was going to design the site. I usually take the liberty to do that, obviously. And it was something that I wasn't looking forward to doing. Designing for self is just the worst. Once I get in the groove, I can do it, but it's getting that first, just over that first big hump that is very difficult, at least for me. I'm beyond hypercritical about everything when it comes to our own brand. So it's very hard for me to get in that headspace, and it takes a lot out of, it takes a lot out of all of us, but it takes a lot out of me personally. So we were having discussions about, you know, obviously how web is being done today, but we also like a lot of things from the yesteryear of web. Even we still like a lot of stuff that we were doing back from the beginning of Forefathers. So we kind of wanted to get that spirit back of when we first started with kind of vintage feel, vintage palette, kind of old Americana feel without being Americana. I know that doesn't really make a lot of sense, but to me it does.
Yeah, I get it.
But we wanted to. We were goofing on. We were just kind of poking fun at all the sites that had big, beautiful media backgrounds, and they're in office spaces, and people are skateboarding down halls and playing foosball and shit. And
brick walls.
Yeah, and I think we counted something. Just completely goofing on these sites. And I think we counted upwards to 20 probably sites like that.
Yeah.
And it's in no way am I saying those are bad. I'm just saying there was a very big consistency that we did not want any part of. However, we did like video backgrounds, and we liked the incorporation of video and animation in the new web of today, obviously. So we weren't opposed to that. So I was thinking, well, obviously getting us all three together in a room is a fucking ordeal. So is there some type of way that we could still do some type of video background or video introduction to ourselves without us having to leave and do a video shoot? Just out of nowhere, I kind of just thought, wouldn't it be hilarious to get some type of puppet show going, like the puppet shows that they do on the sides of the street in Europe or Russia or something like that? That'd be really funny, I think. And the idea was totally stupid. It's still stupid.
Oh man, I'm watching it right now. This shit's hilarious. Like Amir's doll is cracking me up, and the funny thing is, he's rocking a Misfit shirt in that,
Yeah.
and now he's rocking a Misfit shirt right now too. So it fits it perfectly.
The way that it worked out was it worked out better. It's one of those instances where it actually worked out better than the original idea, because when I brought it up to the guys, we were just laughing so hard about it, just thinking, no one's going to take this serious. It's so fucking dumb. Why would we go out of our way to make these puppets of ourselves? It's just, we're trying to be kind of a serious design studio. Well, actually, I take that back. That we're not. We were afraid that it'd be too goofy or too funny for a design studio. So we said, okay, let's sleep on it. And we came back and we were just still laughing about it. And I think Matt said this idea is it's just so dumb that we have to do it. So we got in touch with God, I can't even remember the studio's name. They're in the Czech Republic of all places. We shopped around a lot of places, and
they're just called Marionetti. I mean, some Marionetti, yeah.
And they're in the Czech Republic, and obviously the quality of their work was astounding. And that's when we kind of started really taking it serious, is when we started looking at who was out there that makes custom marionettes. Obviously, there was a language barrier there, so we were trying to explain what we were doing, and I don't think maybe they got it, maybe they didn't, I'm not sure. But they said, okay, well, send us back, what was it, Matt? 6 pictures of yourselves, of your heads.
Yeah, it was like a selfie, and then a side selfie of each side, and then a body shot. I remember getting the email and then sending it to Amir and Jondon, and within 30 minutes, I think Jondon shot me back the photos. He went out into the alleyway and shot these photos, and I was like, oh shit, this is really happening. Okay, so I think when I got Jondon's photos, then I realized that it was happening. And we still were kind of on the, we didn't know how they were going to turn out. We didn't know what they were. We were just stoked that they were actually being hand carved. They're all wooden. And Jondon had this polka dot shirt on, and he was dressed like he usually is. And I was like, oh, fuck, we got to do this. So sent him over, and they went really quiet, and we were like, oh crap, this isn't gonna happen. And then we get an email back, and it's like, okay, can you guys take more photos of your tattoos, because that's what's taking the longest time is your tattoos.
Damn,
we
you got
didn't even
serious about it.
Yeah, we didn't think that they were gonna do the tattoos, but they did, and then they went quiet again, and it was a good month or so where they were just in the shadows, and then all of a sudden they sent us this video, and the video was perfect. It was so perfect that if it was better quality, we would have used that for the intro video.
Yeah.
It just starts off with "God Save the Queen," and all three of us are sitting at a table drinking beers, and like they had this setup all ready to go, and it was just so awesome. And it had our pictures that we had sent them on the background so it could show like the details, and it was just so spot on. I started crying immediately in laughter. It was just so ridiculous. We have to post that video just to show.
Do it, please. I'll put it in the show notes.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
It's perfect.
I think it's great. Like, obviously, the whole site is just serious and right in your face with what you guys specialize in, and that's just a nice little punch of comic relief. So you get a little bit of your personality too, like the guys you'll be meeting at conferences, which I enjoy the most. Before I even found your work.
Oh, thanks.
Dude? Honestly, what's really blowing my mind? I'm on your services page, and I can't stop like resizing the browser with the responsive illustrations. Like, obviously the imagery, but man, I'm a sucker for illustrations, and I just keep moving the browser and just. I'm in awe. Like, how do you guys handle that? Does Amir have to like design them several different ways and then you code it from there? Like, I think this is like the future of massive visuals that can scale and respond to whatever device, but I have to know the process.
That's all SVG.
Yeah.
Even the letters though on top of it, like.
Oh, the letters that's all code. I mean, that's just straight up CSS. I mean, that's not an illustration, just the illustration behind the text.
Mm-hmm. But does he have to show you a mock-up of like several different sizes of breakpoints, or did you just lay it on and it just does its thing?
No, so the way that we work as a team, and I think the beauty of us, of me and John, and like with him doing web design and me doing development, is that I don't really require a lot of. I don't really need the breakdown, the breakpoints. I already know where his head's at with a lot of it. Sometimes it's really helpful, but with the Forefathers site, he just did I think it was just the one view, right, John? And we didn't do responsive views for.
I think I did maybe a tablet view for the homepage, but that's the thing. Usually Matt knows exactly where to go.
That saves so much time then, huh?
Yeah.
So it does, but here's the thing with Forefathers and most other design companies. I don't know how other design companies work, but I know how John and his brain works, and the minutia of every little detail he takes into consideration. There's a part in the footer, like the "Let's Build" tag, or maybe it's the Higher Forefathers tag. He had me change the line height on that. I kid you not. Like I thought he was trolling me.
A couple pixels.
How many times he had me change it?
Can you bump that line height up 2 pixels? 2 pixels. Yeah, no,
please. it was. I honestly thought he was fucking with me. Like, you can't be serious right now.
So, John, I got some more questions about illustrations, but John, did you build this in Sketch or Photoshop?
Both. Yep. I built it in Photoshop, and then I was learning Sketch at the same time. Actually, when I finished this in Photoshop, I said, you know what? I think I'm gonna start using Sketch for layouts. So I said, fuck it. I'll just recreate the site in Sketch and see how easy it is. So I made it twice, essentially.
Amir, I didn't put this in the questions, but I've been dying to know, what is your illustration process? Do you ever start with Sketch by hand, or do you use some kind of tablet with a stylus, or dude, what do you do?
I do most work, it's either mouse or trackpad all the way. I never sketch anything out. Yeah. I do a lot of it on trackpad.
Like the Superboss Gorilla thing, or like the People's Garment Co. That's all just trackpad?
Trackpad or mouse. Like I think People's Garment was mouse, and I think Superboss was trackpad. I remember doing the Superboss branding at my home office. I never have a mouse there, so because I have my mouse at the office, and I just have one because I'm a cheap bastard. So when I work at home, I use the trackpad on my laptop. So a lot of it gets done on trackpad.
That shit blows my mind, dude. There's no way that's all just... It looks like, seriously, you just took like a pen with some brush settings.
Well, thank you so much. I used to draw a lot. And then I started... When I got into like Illustrator and stuff like that back in the late 90s, it was so hard like doing the... Back then, like sketching something and getting it on the scanner. Scanners were really expensive, and I don't know. It just felt like a lot of work to get a sketch to Illustrator back then. So
and then do like an image trace on top of it.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, I just gotta learn this digital shit. So I just started learning doing everything by mouse, and then like 10 years later, maybe not 10, but no, I'm exaggerating. Maybe 3 or 4 years later, like in the beginning of the 2000s, the first like tablet things started coming out, and they were really shitty. I tried them because I still wanted to do it by hand, but it just wasn't working. So I just decided, like, fuck it, I'll just learn to do everything with a mouse.
God, will you please like do a screen recording just so and like speed it up so we can see your process?
Yeah, I've been thinking about doing that for a
Dying
long
to
time.
see. Yeah, I think I already bugged you about that. I just want to learn.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do that pretty soon.
Something I don't think a lot of people know is that you guys create products too, like a lot of Photoshop actions. And I want to give a lucky listener a prize basically for listening of your Renaissance one, but I'd love to hear more about that. Like, how did that even start? Where did you guys start experimenting that Photoshop's actions? Do you use your own actions on all your imagery?
I use it a lot.
Yeah?
Typically when we get a bunch of images, it's gotten a lot better over the years, but when we used to work with clients, they would have great content, but their imagery would be pretty subpar. And they'd send it over, and we'd have to do a lot of color correcting to make it good for web, fix stuff here and there. A lot of tones had to be adjusted for it to be worthy, I think, of their site and their content. So I found myself having to do this a lot, and we also, we had to do that with a lot of album art too. So bands would send over images that weren't the best, that needed color correcting, that needed to be brought into the art itself. So we found ourselves doing all of these levels and adjustments and brightness and contrast, hue, saturation, color, overtones, and stuff like that. Basically like filters in Instagram, but for Photoshop, that are editable, obviously. So just on a whim, I said, you know what, I'm going to make a batch of filters in Photoshop that I can just, and for actions that I can just click, and then it'll do all the adjustments for me. So here's the range, and I'll just see what it does. And then I think that's about the time that I discovered Creative Market, and we were always kind of looking for a digital product. Obviously, we wanted to do fonts and stuff, but that takes
dude, that's a whole nother monster with typefaces.
Yeah, as you already know.
We're actually working on that right now.
Shut up.
If you remember, what's it called? People's Garment?
Yeah.
Yeah, that all that type was custom made. So I started building that typeface out, but it's
that kind of like vintagey sans serif. Sorry to cut you off, Johnny.
No, all good. I made this set. I learned how to do actions properly. It was my first set, so it was a little. I've since been and gone back and fixed a lot of stuff, but it fulfilled its purpose. And then I thought, you know what? I'm gonna put this on Creative Market and see what it does. And then I'm gonna build a little big cartel store for us. Just put it out there for $5. See if anybody even gives a shit about any of this, because there was a ton of obviously Photoshop action sets out there, but this filter set was kind of it. It was a little darker. It was way more dramatic than most action sets, and it got featured in a lot of places. It sold way more.
You talking about Visions 1?
Yeah, I just named it Visions. I gave it a really fast name, put it up very quickly, I think within the span of about a week. And yeah, just out of nowhere, it did way better than I ever thought it would have. Yeah, just from there, I said, well, shit, if people like this one, I'll just make another one. And so we just kept kind of building. And then our latest one, which is Renaissance. We don't get to make them as much as we'd like to, obviously, because we're always dealing with client work and juggling client work. It's one of those things where when I have a moment and I'm inspired to do another one, I'll knock it out. But I also don't want. We also don't want to keep putting out the same type of filters. That's why our last one is doing the oil paint effect Renaissance, which you mentioned. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's just kind of how we got into it, just by having a little need that we needed fulfilled, that I think a lot of other designers need fulfilled too. Photoshop is still a behemoth of a photo editor.
For sure.
You'll never be able to take that away from Photoshop. Obviously, people have Lightroom as well, but Photoshop it's still a bad motherfucker.
Well, I think it's a great takeaway, like the stuff that you constantly are repeating and having to use for other people. Like there's ways to create a passive income within that and just have like things that can make you money behind the scenes, which is something I'm striving to try and figure out as well. So it's cool to hear about the backstory of that.
There really is, and it taught me, and I think it kind of taught all of us, that it's those little simpler things that will make more of an impact. I've seen people, hell, we even done it before, where you just do a Hail Mary product and you go all out and you spend tons of time on it and it just goes, doesn't do anything. And then, I make something over a week just out of pure necessity for us and decide to throw it on Creative Market and did wonders. So I don't know. There's something to be said about keeping it light.
Yeah, I have a couple more questions just related to Brennan before we can kind of get off topic, but I got two of them that come from Peter Voth, and I don't know if you guys know Peter Voth directly, but that dude is a beast of an illustrator and a designer as well. And,
we're getting to know him. Yeah,
you guys know him?
We've been aware of Peter for years now, but now we're really getting to know him. He's been actively reaching out to us a lot lately and been very supportive. Great guy, excellent guy.
Yeah, he's like one of the gems I found this year. But Peter wanted to know a couple things. So how pivotal is the role of illustration in branding? Because I feel like that's what totally sets you guys apart from the next agency or remote team like that. And then what's your vision of responsive branding? Because that's obviously the future right now.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how to answer that, but I've always been into both like minimalist branding and the ones that are a bit more heavily illustrated. And I think they're sort of connected because that's where we got into, that's sort of how we started working with responsive branding, which was, I don't know if that was a thing, if that even was a term people used. It was just something we started talking about because all web was responsive, right? So we figured it would be a sort of natural step to start working with responsive branding as well. Have some sort of more elaborate lockup that could scale down for responsive web too. So I guess that's where that came from.
And you got to keep in mind of like scalability and legibility at like these different devices size. So
yeah.
Not to mention more corporate work. We've been fortunate to work with some more corporate-based clients, and they're always using swag for trade shows and whatnot. And the scalability is always an issue with corporate clients because they're given one set of one logo set, and though they have maybe a style guide associated with what not to do, there's no secondary imagery that will work like on either a baseball cap or then down to a ballpoint pen. or a sticky notebook, or just there's so many different pieces that a logo can go on, and if you're given a lot of different choices, it makes the brand way more versatile.
Like designing something that maybe has a little less detail for the smallest size. Like, are you guys finding yourself having to do a lot of that too? Like create 3 different versions of an illustration for the different sizing of things? Or do you just kind of...
Yeah, so we'll start massive, like billboard style, and then go down to maybe the side of a truck if you're doing, that like more square rectangular mock-up, and then scale it all the way down to the size of an avatar, where there's no loss in continuity between any of the different sizes.
Sure, so you kind of have to design a couple steps ahead.
Yeah, we just started doing that.
And there was some people that were like criticizing it when I think I rolled out something on Dribble that was a responsive branding, and I showed like the lockups from the most elaborate one down to the most minimalist one, and people were like, this is not how logos or branding works. Like there should be one mark that works for every size. And I don't know, it was getting criticized a little bit, and I was like, these guys are just thinking like dinosaurs. But I don't know. And turned out to be right. I don't know much about like design companies and stuff, but there's one company here, and especially here in Europe, but there's one here in Sweden called Bold. They did the branding for the Shirt Factory, and they did a responsive branding for them. I saw that one, I was blown away. I was like, hell yeah, this is rad. I want to try to do something like this as well. This was like, I don't know, 7 years ago. I'll send you the link here in the Skype chat. So maybe if you want to post this for reference later. Yeah. So they did a kick-ass job for, it's called the Shirt Factory. It's just a branch of shirt retailers.
I feel like you guys have a lot of foresight, and that's why you're the forefathers in a sense. So
don't quote us.
These ones, don't quote us. No. Yeah. All right. And these ones basically deal with inspiration. So Peter Voth asked, what inspires your vintage feel in graphic design? And then my homie Eric Rodriguez, he wants to know how you guys say so fresh and original. Where do you look to get inspired? Kind of a 2-part question, because you had mentioned earlier that Americana, but not Americana, that vintage style, the color palettes. Where did that even come from in the first place? Like, how did you guys unify under that decision?
John was really into like snake oil salesman, Americana stuff back in the day. I think that's where it originated from. Or am I wrong there?
Yeah, well, elixir bottles, medicinal bottles, anything old really was really... Before that really kind of took off, everything back then, of course, was hyper gradient on web. Everything was big skeuomorphism, buttons, things like that. Mm-hmm. And I think to answer that question, a lot of our inspiration over the years, I feel, has just come from boredom. Just bored
with what you see out there with everyone else doing.
You just kind of see sometimes. When you start seeing a trend, and it's just building and it's building and it's building, and everything starts to look the same, and you just can't differentiate sometimes who is who. Yeah,
that's Instagram these days, dude. That shit is so saturated. It just
it happens. That's the thing, is it happens to every platform at some point, I think. Especially when it takes off, and sadly, it's happened to Dribble. I think that's just kind of the natural thing, and I believe that designers sometimes get caught up in that. The way that we design, we try to hide in our work. Not hide, but we try to live in it somehow. So where our personalities can be found, almost like a thumbprint. I don't know. It's really hard to explain. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. I know, Scotty, you've got your style. You have to find yourself in there somehow. That's always, I think, what's inspired us, to where seeing what we can get away with, having fun with it, making sure the work is up to snuff, and being excited about it, and not just trying to play by whatever's hot at the moment.
I think that's a big mistake a lot of designers make, or maybe not mistake, but I think that's what's making everything look the same. As people look to Dribble and Instagram for inspiration when they should just go outside and look for it.
See, I try to call it staying in your own lane and doing your own thing instead of trying to like worry about what everybody else is doing and copying it, jumping on the trends. I was guilty of that, so I'm not going to act like I am some amazing human being and original creative, but you know, I saw where it was getting me trying to rip everybody else's shit, and you know, not my thing.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is it happens to everybody at some point where, especially when you're learning and you're just getting into design, of course you're going to be heavily inspired by other works that even may look similar to it, but the more that you go, you start developing your own style and you start living in it essentially. And that's when I think designers really become designers. And I think that's when you can create that way, your inspiration can start to naturally come. It doesn't even have to really come from other things.
And I mean, what inspires me more than anything is visiting new places. Like, going to New Orleans was just, I think it had, like, the signage photos I took there. I could make a coffee table book out of those. Amazing.
Yeah,
like,
they are
going
great.
somewhere to see that is just like that inspires you a lot. Instead of going to Dribble and checking out the latest shots of what's hot and what's popular, and but you know, I can get inspired online as well. You can find a lot of really cool stuff there, but it doesn't have to be something that's being made now. It can be an archive of old hand-drawn maps from the 12th century or something. Like, it doesn't have to be Dribble or Instagram or Behance or something like that.
Pinterest.
Yeah, exactly. So
just stuff out and about, especially when you're traveling.
Yeah, especially when you travel. And I try to do, like, when I try to walk, I try to just walk to my office every day and take new roads as often as possible, depending on how much time I want to spend walking home, but or walking here. But if you take some side roads and just see something different, you can pick up inspiration anywhere.
Maybe that commonality is being uncomfortable almost, or getting into things that you don't feel completely comfortable, whether that be through travel or something that doesn't feel like home.
Yeah,
definitely.
Sure.
Definitely. No, I think that's way valuable. Kind of like switching things up, breaking away from the branding thing.
Yeah.
You guys are all pretty big personalities, especially when you meet you in person, when you've had a couple like vodkas drinks in your system. Especially little Matt over there. I thought Matt was a quiet dude, but no, he's a silent assassin.
Yes,
get him a couple drinks and Matt's a lady.
He might be
Matt's a lady killer.
He might be the craziest of us all, actually.
Yeah.
Oh man, he was the first person I walked into at Crop This last year, and he had more energy than I think both you two combined. So.
And he had been missing out on Creative South too, so he was extra hyped.
Oh yeah, he couldn't make it. That's right. Yeah, because you guys had to Skype him in, and I took a photo with you guys that he was Skyping in.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, that was you and that photo.
Me and Brian.
I was so bummed about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but at least we lived it up at Crop. But
yes.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is that you guys are all pretty big personalities, but one thing I really stand behind is that you guys can be pretty vocal on social, especially you, Amir, I see you standing up for people on Twitter with the internet bullying and trolling. Like, Twitter these days is fucking ludicrous with the designers attacking designers, like attacking our own kind.
I quit.
It's always the social
fucking
justice
the
warrior
worst.
douchebags who go
Yeah,
after
it
people.
seems to be the same people too. But like, what's your take on that? Like, I don't know. I just really like how you guys speak out on things.
We were just talking about this, actually.
Yeah, we're just talking about it. The reason
Continue it here, please.
Yeah, the reason I went after those people pretty hard was they were attacking a friend of mine who's one of the nicest guys ever. His name is Tobias von Schneider. He's from Austria. He lives in New York.
That dude pours himself into the community, like doesn't ask anything in return. Like, totally with you on that.
And he was the first person that I got to know through Dribble and all these design communities. He was the first person I met in real life. I went to New York in 2011 or something like that. And I went out with him and his girl, Verena, who's also a designer. And I met them again in 2016 when I was in New York. So we're real life friends and like online nerd friends. So he's a really great guy. And I don't know why they picked him, but they picked him to just go after him for some reason. And these fucking middle-aged, balding, fat nerds just rallied together and went after him, and I just hit back.
Well, what sucks is they get their little posses of like Twitter sub-followers who want to look cool and show their support for these opinionated assholes, and then it's just a gang up.
Well,
everybody just starts ganging up on someone.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not constructive at all to just go after.
Not at all.
No.
But there was nothing about this, what they were criticizing, there was nothing about this that Tobias did that could have warranted that. He just did something that he wanted to do. If you don't like it, just fuck off. That's okay. Yeah. That's all. If you don't like something, just don't look at it. And that's the problem. That's the biggest problem with...
just like if you're watching something on TV that offends you, just switch the fucking channel. Don't write a letter to the net. Don't be a...
Perfect.
I was watching in the background while I was doing something. I was listening to old episodes of the U.S. Office. And some of the gay jokes that they were doing in that show, like I was laughing, but I was thinking to myself, this would not fly right now. And that show's not even fucking that old, you know? So and people are just so like uptight and they want to jump on something just to get the fire started. And it really sucks when it like starts to bleed in to the design community. People out there just shaming other designers or other people for no
stirring up the pot
reason.
Everybody's dying to have an enemy for some reason. I don't know why. I think my biggest thing that I've noticed, the biggest assholes I've ever met online or experienced online are the nicest people when they meet you face to face. And there is a very big problem, even with designers. You would think that this wouldn't be an issue with people in tech at all, but there's a very big disconnect from who people are in their digital self and then in their physical self. I've always been a staunch advocate to be exactly who you are in person and be exactly who you are online. Don't be different. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if you're different if you're an asshole online and you're nice in person, you're gonna have problems. If you're an asshole in person and nice online, you're still gonna have problems.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna be a dick, go full dick.
Yeah.
Go all the way. Don't just go halfway, and definitely don't go picking fights with people that didn't pick a fight with you, didn't say anything to you. I don't know. It's just it feels silly that we're all adults and we're even having to talk about internet fights.
Yeah.
I mean that's some shit that I made fun of when I was in high school.
Yeah, and the funniest part about this is like the people that are doing the bullying are these social justice online warriors that are, I don't know, that they stand for the complete opposite according to themselves, and then they mob together and act like bullies. It's so
the best way to handle them is just ignore them, and that's anybody.
It is, but sometimes you just have to tell them to shut the fuck up.
I know.
But
I thought it was great. You're putting that dude in his place. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was.
Count on a mirror.
Well, and it's not just I enjoyed the drama and the beef. I enjoyed the fact that someone can actually speak up and battle against these assholes who are trying to join together. It's like, we got enough negativity going on in the world right now. Why would you attack your fellow designers? Like, it's whack as hell to me.
Yeah, some people seek relevance in that, and it's
well, I grew up getting bullied, so the fact that this shit still continues to this day really bugs me to my core.
You were bullied? You look like a bully.
Oh, dude, I was picked on, beat up, bullied. It was, it wasn't fun growing up all the way through. Even college, man, I still had bullies.
Oh, yeah? That's so ripped, right?
Yeah. Pizza and vodka,
Yeah,
dog.
don't bully Scotty anymore.
I would not fuck with Scotty.
Yeah,
I would not fuck the Lincoln guy.
Scotty Khan. That's
Khan.
Scotty Khan, dude. You know, you started calling me. I'm like, who the hell is that? And then I started doing research, and I was just watching Entourage recently, and I'm like, Scotty Khan. I'm like, that's a compliment.
Yeah.
That's a compliment.
If you had the Elvis look on your hair, you would look like him.
Man, see, I got picked on because of my hair a lot growing up. Well, and I was that chunky kid, so growing my hair out is scary to me. Scary to me.
Really?
Yeah, I got colics all over the place, dude. I'm looking like a goon if I let my hair grow out for like a month. Look like a fool. John, super random. I just saw your Instagram story. You're a crazy ass, dude. Why the hell did you buy a haunted Ouija board?
Dude,
Because it's not haunted. It's not haunted.
It's not haunted.
No, guys.
Did I make that up?
No. They sold it as haunted. Here's and I'm really surprised with Amir on this. He claims to have a haunted experience with spirit boards, which I mean, those are old.
Tell us.
Those are old parlor tricks. The way that those work. I mean, here's where you see adults just break down is when you bring out a Ouija boards and start talking about supernatural stuff. Adults just they're not adults anymore. They become fascinated children. And that's the reason why I bought this thing, because it's fun to scare the shit out of party guests. It's fun to do at a party. But has anybody taken the time to actually find out how these work? I'm sorry, a Ouija board in Parker Brothers did not build a portal to hell. They did not build. No, they didn't. You're not gonna find a conversation with your dead relatives in between Legos and Super Soakers. It's not gonna happen. It's not real.
Okay, so
especially when it's plastic and cardboard.
Yeah,
I'm not religious, and I'm not,
Amir, tell me. I gotta know.
It's bullshit.
I'm not superstitious, but I fucked around with that shit when I was a kid. People are gonna laugh at me, and I'm gonna lose all my credibility if I ever had any.
All those internet bullies that he was just calling out are just gonna attack him.
If this sounds stupid, I'll just edit it out like nothing happened. You're good, man. I got you.
I don't know. I messed around with that stuff when I was a kid, and it freaked me out because it worked, man. I never tried it again. I was 13 or something. It fucking worked. It's creeped me out completely. That shit is scary. I wouldn't fuck around with that. I remember my grandmother, who was really a down to earth woman. She was like, "Oh, I heard you're doing like Ouija boards and stuff with your friends." I was like, "Yes." I dabbled with that when I was a kid too. I was like, "Oh yeah, really?" She was like, "Yeah, it worked. You shouldn't fuck with that." I was like, "Okay." So
it all breaks down, and it's really quick to debunk. It's really, if you want to suck the fun out of the room for everybody.
See, I'm that dude who's like, I've always loved like fantasy, sci-fi, and horror movies. Like horror movies are my jam. Oh yeah. So I like that superstitious vibe. But that Ouija board you bought, the lettering on that and some of the illustrations were dope.
Go on Etsy. You can find you can find spirit boards from the early 30s and 40s that are incredibly expensive, but fuck, they're fascinating and they're beautiful.
Oh my God, dude, that's your new shop product. You know, your tangible object is like a Ouija board.
Yeah. Actually, that would be cool to make.
That would be fucking amazing.
That's
cool
I
would design
the only thing
one.
I can think about now.
Use it, but I would design one. That's a great idea. Can you excuse me 2 seconds, Scott? I just gotta go get a beer. Is that okay?
Yeah, okay. You're good. You're good. I'm leaving that in too. Then where do you guys see Forefathers group evolving into the next 5-10 years?
Right now we're devolving, so I'm not sure.
What do you mean?
No, I'm kidding.
No, he's still looking.
I don't know. I would love to see us have a couple more members, actually. We have a fourth forefather, an unofficial guy who does a lot of work with us right now. His name is Ryan Golden.
Ryan what?
Ryan Golden. He has an animation company called The Golden Goose.
Oh, yeah, dude. He's been kicking out all of your guys' shit. Yeah, that's been amazing. He just did the crop pop-up animation of your work that you did for it too, right?
Yeah.
That one was, oh my God, he did such a good work with that. Yeah,
That dude's a beast.
He is a beast for sure.
So animation's looking pretty heavy in the near future?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to start learning it too. But this guy is just like,
Is he After Effects?
Yeah, he made a screensaver for me as well. With I don't know if you guys got it, but it was pretty recently. We had like the sticker pack that we brought to Crop. He took those stickers and made an animation of that too. And he sent me that as a screensaver a couple of weeks ago. It looks amazing. I don't know. He's so good.
Will you for sure someone get me that for the show notes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just little things like that too.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt? Where do you want to see things evolve to?
I would like to see a couple more members in the fold, and then allow us to allow John in enough time to do more, some more of our passive income stuff for, all of us doing it. I think that, it would be great to just have, because as a core, it's just the three of us. We do work with some really cool developers as well, that do our back end stuff. Brian Bartholomew has been doing a ton of stuff for us, and he's been just crushing it, and which is awesome. But we do. It would be good to just have like a full team that that was just doing Forefathers stuff. More than just the three of us. So it would free us up to do more business development, and instead of relying so much on client work.
For sure. Well, you kind of aligned with that, John did?
Yeah, I if I could focus a lot more time on writing, just odds and ends of how to push the brand of Forefathers, products like Matt mentioned, all of those things. There's a lot of things that run through our minds, and sadly, well, I won't say sadly. I mean, we are very fortunate to have a great client list and stay very busy with clients, but there are days where I kind of would like to give a little more TLC to Forefathers. But that's about the next 5 years. I think a couple of different, some new blood, obviously, that fits right in with us. And even myself, Matt and Amir could focus a little bit more energy and time on client relations and just all that is Forefathers, and trying to get that just out there more.
If you guys ever need a bouncer or like a hype man, can I?
Oh, I
be
think
that guy?
absolutely.
Yeah,
For sure. Scotty Compton, man.
yes.
We're gonna bail on all conferences and just start a Forefathers retreat. And
Oh man, don't bail on the conferences. You guys
No,
bring the energy.
These guys are not that much into conferences as I am, but it's different because they have kids and they have to travel, and it's their own country. I get to travel. I get to travel to the other side of the world.
It's like you guys being at a place like attracts people like me to go to a conference. I'm not sure if you realize the scale of what you guys bring to a conference, but
Oh, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, that's too kind.
I don't know, man. I feel like, as much as I appreciate that, I feel like you've got like such a strong presence. Like, just being around you, it's been. I feel like the conference scene has been the ones that we've been able to go to. I feel like everyone there like has like a really unique energy, and it kind of just makes things. It's not so. I don't know if it's cliquey. It's just because there's so many people doing their own thing, which is pretty cool.
But that's how like going 2 years in a row to Creative South. It's like the first year was probably the craziest because it was the first time we were all together, the Forefathers for the first time, and we met so many of these profiles or internet personalities and designers that we've talked to for years and never met, and we got to party with them and just hang out. It was amazing. Second year, you had had a couple of clicks because you already had you built a relationship the first year with a lot of people. Like Ryan Manley, he's just the best dude ever.
He's the man.
Yeah, I was just hanging out a lot with him and you, and it's a lot of people that we like. Lenny and all these crazy people that we could hang out with, that we sort of knew that was our posse this time. So I think that, but you also met like a lot of new people that you built a really good relationship with as well. And I mean, like Matt and his wife, Matt Dawson, from the guy who runs Crop and his own design studio, Stay Gray Pony Boy. Him and his wife, we hung out with them briefly last year, and this year we hung out a lot with them. Went to their conference, Crop. I stayed at their house in Atlanta for like a week. It was amazing. So I can't even imagine how next year is going to be. I'm not sure if Jonathan and Matt's coming, but I'm definitely coming to both of those things.
I'll be at them both too, man. So
yeah, April is becoming the month of the year for me because it's just it's so fun to go over there and just see everybody. True
that. So a lot of people in my audience, in the onboarding email, I get a lot of questions about, you know, how do I start or continue to persevere? How do I handle getting wrapped up in comparison? So like one piece of advice you could give the creative who's struggling to figure out where to start, or, you know, who gets wrapped up in comparison, you know, what's something you guys could pass along to them?
Compared to somebody's getting compared to other people's work.
Yeah. Like, I'm paralyzed by comparison. Like, man, this person's just crushing it in this field. Like, why the hell would I even try? Don't even
bother with that nonsense. I mean, if you're doing something that you can stand behind, like, unless you're actively trying to rip somebody off, who cares? You know, like, I think that's what people get tripped up on the most, is that they spend so much time looking at other people's work that they fear doing anything for themselves because they feel like they're going to inevitably rip somebody off. If you just like do stuff that you feel are good about and you can stand behind it, then stand behind it. I mean, that's how you grow, and just keep doing stuff. The more you do work, the better you're going to get. And I feel like the only way to stay out of that mindset is just to not bother with it. Try to put it out of your head as much as you can.
Yeah, you got to watch the video. I think it's Dave Chappelle's show. It's called "Everyone's Scared of Show Business Except Puff Daddy." Puff Daddy, he's just dancing into everything. He's not scared, just doing his shit, even though some people think it's whack or crappy. He's not afraid. So I saw that sketch like, I don't know how long, 8-10 years ago. I thought it was hilarious, and that's always how I used to have that as a reference, like, handle everything, just dance in there and don't be afraid, because people aren't as untouchable as you think, and the stuff they do is not as unattainable as you might think.
Mm-hmm.
What you got, John? Did
I agree with everything they both said. Just take the risks. Think of things that are fun to you. Think of things that are even humorous to you. Think very large, and take the risk of the one thing that kind of stands out mentally to you.
That's gold. That's gold, guys. I appreciate you actually like spending some time and giving something like that, because I know it's gonna hit home with some people.
Cool.
All right, let's enter into OT real quick. We'll do some rapid fire questions. This is my favorite. If you were on death row, what would your last slice of pizza be?
Cocaine and pepperoni.
Is that new one at Domino's?
Yeah. I ate it just last night. It's fucking great.
Yeah.
I haven't slept
yet. You haven't gone to sleep yet.
You've been all night.
I haven't slept yet. I'm shaking like a leaf right now.
Yeah, can you get drugs as your last meal? I kind of feel like you should be able to.
That's why, Xanax and cheese would be amazing.
Can I get like an edible or something?
Yeah.
Oh, that would freak me out.
Right?
Oh.
Right before you die, you go on a trip. Oh, man.
Well, this is the most unique answer I've ever gotten to this question. So, does anybody have a real piece of pizza they like?
I think I'd be basic, just Italian sausage, all the way through.
Sausage man, gotcha.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt?
Oh man, dude, anything extra garlic. It's gotta have extra garlic.
Oh my god!
Do you guys not fuck with the extra garlic? My wife and I, like, dude.
If I get Papa John's, I'll dip it in that little garlic sauce. That's bomb.
Yeah,
no, like
The garlic sauce is good, but not extra garlic as a
not cloves of garlic. No way.
Oh yeah. Ours, like it's something that her family do a lot as well. We'll do sausage and extra garlic, and dude, it's offensive how much garlic.
And everybody's got to like stand on the opposite side of the room to have a conversation.
It's like
It's so delicious. It's
everybody on death row's life a living hell.
Yep.
Yeah, just shit garlic when you're done too.
What's the name of that place that we went to in Baton Rouge?
Oh my God, crack. That was crack pizza.
Oh,
It was so bad, it was good.
it was so good. I
would eat there all the time if I could, but it's not great pizza.
No.
It is like their pepperoni. That would probably be my death row pizza.
Was it square? It was square pies, weren't they?
Oh,
They weren't.
Was it the place? Was the place with like the neon sign on the outside? Yeah. I had that too.
I'm trying to find it here. What was it
That
called?
was good.
As you're locking that one down, real quick, serif, sans serif, or script? Going with Jondon first.
Serif.
Why?
Just
That vintage
Because
vibe.
he's so regal.
just more. Yeah, I'm very fancy. I just like it's just more pleasing to me. I think, especially the older I get, I like it more.
God, I like it typefaces, but drawing serifs are a fucking nightmare.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
What about you, Matty Ice?
I always go sans serif because I feel like anytime I try to use serif, it just looks pretentious and lame. So
That's Jondon for you.
I'm also pretentious.
Stop using Times New Roman all the time.
Personally, no, Jondon can rock it. I mean, Jondon, like I could never dress like Jondon. I would just look so lame. Mainly because I'm so short. Could you imagine me wearing some of this stuff? I would just like, oh God.
Other than the pink banana shirt that Jondon had, I think like when I first saw a photo of him, I thought he was a vampire because like he was dressed in all black, hair slicked back, and it was like a grayscale photo.
Jondon has the best fucking. He rocks. He's stylish as hell.
Oh yeah, I wish I had.
Wish I had his fucking swagger.
Amir, serif, sans serif, or script?
Sans serif all the way.
All right. Okay. Well, then this leads into the.
All the way.
I was just gonna say, man. Yes, I was hoping you didn't change it up to like Frutiger or Futura since crop, but yes, Avenir's my jam.
All the way.
Matt, what about you? Favorite typeface?
I always say Din, but lately John has been throwing that Mission Gothic around a lot, and I've just been into that.
In 60% of my work, there's Mission Gothic somewhere.
Yeah, I really like that typeface.
Yeah. Oh, Schlitz and Giggles. Sorry.
Schlitz and Giggles. Yes, that's it. Crack.
That's what it was called? Schlitz and Giggles?
Yeah.
How do I
Crack
remember
pizza.
that?
Sounds like a strip club.
That's a horrible name for a pizza joint.
No, it's the fucking perfect one. I would murder 2 kittens right now for one slice. I'm not even. Oh God.
So when we first met Amir, one of the nights we were in Creative South, he ordered a pizza, and John and I passed out, and he was left with the whole pizza, and he finished the whole fucking thing that night.
And then he lived in the bathroom the whole next day.
He ate the whole pie. It was not small. It was a fucking large pizza.
What's that place called? Da Vinci's? No.
Picasso's.
Picasso's.
Oh, it's so good.
Dude, bomb.
I ate their pizza from the floor this year. Because Matt's wife.
Was that the one that they had like the little truck out front, outside?
Yeah.
That place is
So
good.
Matt's wife, Ariadna, accidentally, while she was a bit drunk, knocked my pizza out of my hand. And it fell cheese down on the floor. And I was like, fuck that. I'm eating that. I picked it up. I ate it. It was great.
Dude, you're my hero. My hero.
You guys gave me shit about extra garlic, and he's eating fucking fuzz and
That's how
Floor
gross
pizza.
garlic is on pizza, man.
you guys are crazy.
It's like eating it off the floor.
None of the
crazy.
cheese or none of the topping, nothing fell off. It just stuck to it. It was.
Well, your eyes were probably half lit closed at the time too. John, what's your favorite typeface?
Oh, Century.
Century.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, can I just mention one typeface that I really
An
love?
honorable mention over here.
Yeah, Carnaby Street. I just purchased it from my dear friend Simon Walker.
Simon Walker. Yeah. What would you say it was called?
It's called Carnaby Street. You can find
Carnaby
it
Street.
on beastofengland.co. It's
All right. I'll put that in the show notes and hook him up. And I'll also put, is it Tobias? How do you say his name? I feel like it's Tobias over here in America, but I feel like you said it differently.
Oh, my friend from Austria,
Yeah.
Tobias
Tobias?
Van Schneider.
I'm just going to put his name in there just to give him a shout out.
Yeah, I'll give you his name. There you go.
Word. Hey, as we wrap things up, is there anything special on the horizon that you'd like people to know about?
New typeface coming out from Forefathers.
Yeah, what's it? Do you know what it's called?
We're doing one called Cousins. It's gonna be what we hope is gonna be the new go-to from people who use Brothers a lot.
Ah, nice. So it's going to be on every beer label eventually.
Yeah, I hope so.
Word.
But the other one is gonna be it's called People's, and it's from People's
Garment.
Yeah, that's the one I've been working on. It's really tedious to do.
Oh, dude, it's crazy.
Oh,
When you guys are getting close to like release date, just let me know and I'll give you a nice little plug here on the newsletter too.
thank you so
Appreciate
much,
that, man.
Uh-huh.
Appreciate
Anything
it.
else?
In collaboration with My Fonts.
Yeah, awesome.
They're great. We're doing some stuff together with them in the near future too. Some other stuff.
Anything else, like some big projects being released, websites, case studies that we can, be excited about?
Surprisingly, we got a batch of albums. 13 Stripes. Their cans are going into production. We just did some Instagrams.
Oh yeah. I just been seeing those all over the place.
I think they said
killer.
I think they said the end of this year, and then we got a batch of album artwork just out of nowhere that we're really excited about. There's about 3 or 4 releases coming out. That's really cool. Got some great new clients that we're digging in for the fall. Since our new site's done, we're back to client mode now. So clients, I'm going to try to get my writing game back up. I've really been slacking with that.
Big fan of your blog post, dude.
I appreciate that. I always feel bad because I only write when I can't not write. So I can't just start writing if I just don't feel like saying anything.
John is a great writer.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
just
I see
finding the
it.
time for it. Can I ask you
it's a
something?
Yeah, what's up?
So, do you watch Game of Thrones?
Oh, dude, I am a fucking junkie.
Can we get into a couple of theories before we wrap
No!
this up?
Azar Hasai. I mean, hey, I'm gonna keep you on when we jump off, and I'll definitely talk some theories real quick with you.
Yeah.
But,
cool.
Matt, you got anything to add to that?
No,
on the
I
horizon?
think, just keep following us. I'm sure Amir will piss some people off eventually, and start some fire, which he likes to do.
Where can people go to find you online?
Forefathersgroup.com.
All right, and I'm going to link up your guys' Dribble and your Twitter and all your guys' personal accounts that you allow me to post. So I just want to thank you for your guys' time. Thank you so much. I know the audience is going to be blown away when they hear this shit, and you got a big fan over in your corner of Iowa. So,
Scotty, man, we love you. You've always been so great to us, dude. Your voice is so loud in this industry, and I love it. I love everything that you're doing. We're right
missed
back at you.
all
man.
of your talks, and we're sorry about that. But
It's all good.
go on so fucking early, man. Why do you have to talk at 6 a.m? Like,
I gotta prove it. So I mean, this last week I actually got the closing spot
Oh,
at
nice.
5:30. So it went well. So I'm working my way up there, dude.
Very cool.
good stuff.
Started for the bottom. Now
we're here.
we're all here. Yeah. All right. Hey, thanks again.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Thank you,
man.
man.
All right. See you guys.
See you soon. Peace.
How about that for a long, entertaining episode? These dudes are so talented, and I'm incredibly grateful that they took the time to open up and not hold back on sharing the goods with us. Like, I feel so lucky to have them on the show. I can guarantee you will be seeing them continue to blow up in your social news feeds or at a conference near you in the future. All right, you made it to the end of the show, and if you want to win a free Renaissance oil painting Photoshop action set, all you got to do is be the first one to email me over at scotty@perspective-collective.com and just say you listened to the show, and boom, that's what makes you a winner. So real quick, are you looking for ways to get critiques on your work, or are you hungry for even more small punchy episodes or free goods and discounts for my shop? If so, these are just a few of the things you can access by supporting the show over at patreon.com/perspectivepodcast with as little as $1, $3, $5 per episode. Your support helps the show grow and evolve as it helps keep up with recurring costs like audio hosting, web hosting, recording programs, equipment, etc. Every little pledge helps offset those costs so I can devote my time outside the day job to bring you the best show possible. Again, you can invest in the growth of this show by visiting patreon.com/perspectivepodcast. And another quick way you can support the show is by leaving a quick ratings and review over on iTunes. It not only helps the show get discovered, but it gives me an opportunity to give you a nice little thank you plug like this week's review. And this one is by London is Blue Podcast, titled Best Podcast for Hustlers Looking to Make Their Own Way in Life. Scotty pours out his ideas and motivation to help other people live the life they want through his message of unrelenting positivity. Shucks. You can tell how genuine he is, and I bet if he found out he helped one person achieve a goal or dream, all of his hard work would be worth it. Keep up the hustle. Man, I love sharing this stuff with you. Like, I could keep it all to myself if I want, because it does make my day, but I want to share what the show is doing because it means the world to me, and it allows me to give a huge thank you and put you on the platform as well. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. And as always, I need to give a huge shout out to Blookah for always providing the dope theme music for the show. I don't know what I would do without this guy's music, but you can find more of his work at soundcloud.com/Blookah. That's BLOOKAH. And I want to continue to just keep pushing and supporting you throughout the week, and I want to encourage you to keep showing up, keep putting in the work, and keep creating. You got this.